Hi everyone, calling to order the Board of Commissioners in our scheduled weekly work session. It's August 11th, 2021, the time now is 10 o'clock. We have all three commissioners here, Commissioner Boyd, Commissioner DeGroot, myself, Commissioner Morris. We also have various other folks with us in the room. We have 3 items on our agenda. We're going to hear from the Senior Center, we have a livestock hearing, and we're going to talk parking spots. So why don't we jump right in. Anyone who's with us for the first time, make sure you identify yourself for the record the first time you speak. Mark, we'll start with you. Renovation at the Senior Center.
Okay, well, I'm still Mark Kane from the Senior Center. I wanted to give you a quick update though about the Senior Center before we get started on the specific thing, if you don't mind. It's been a tough year working our way through the pandemic. Hasn't been terribly tough finance-wise. Relief funds have been plentiful and we've managed our own. We're pretty much open for everything right now. Our Congregate Meals program was suspended for over a year, about 15 months. And we're now back up to serving a little over 100 people a day at the Congregate Meals program, which is fairly back to normal. I hope that lasts for a while. I gave you this performance report to look at, by the way. It kind of shows you month by month what happens during the pandemic. And if you look at the Meals on Wheels program, you'll see we're in the middle of that box where it says total meals. The average last year was 3,700 and some meals, and we peaked at over 6,000 meals per month in January. It's come down a little bit since then, but during the pandemic, the demand for Meals on Wheels went way up, and we were able to meet that demand without any difficulty whatsoever. So that's a really good thing. On the darker side, if you look down at the bottom box where it says bingo, bingo is our major fundraiser Thursday and Saturday evenings. And you'll see, like in December, January, and February, the attendance was 0. Okay, and we still have issues with attendance because we are still managing a mask mandate at the Senior Center, and of course we probably all will be soon. But that causes about half of the people not to want to come, and so that's a big problem for us because the bingo fundraiser is the where we get most of our money that matches or provides the matching requirements for other grants and so forth. So that's a big challenge, and it puts more pressure on the corporate and foundation grant side campaigns and so forth. And then you'll see, if you look at the transportation, you can see how that went way down because our little vans could only haul one person at a time under transit guidelines instead of the 2 or 3 that we used to haul at one time. But we've managed well through the pandemic, I think. We still have a couple of programs that haven't opened up that require close, intimate contact between people. And those remain, suspended, like the ballroom dancing group, for example. So just want to let you know we're doing well. We completed the roof and HVAC projects, which we last talked about and which you partially funded. And we were very thankful for that. And we now have a new roof and an HVAC system that's equipped to remove virus from the air as well. And so it's a much safer environment than it used to be. Now we want to launch on to replacing our dining room bathrooms. And we're here to talk about that because we all own the building. And we have a lease, and I believe we're required to, before we make any modifications like that, to get your review and approval, hopefully. So right now, if you look at these drawings, what you don't see, and I think you've all been in our dining room. So if you're in our dining room, you look at this little square here we call the beverage wall. And then there's a bathroom hallway over here. And then right now we have a hallway that runs all the way down this side of the back side of the building and has a door that goes to the ballroom. And that has 2 windows in it. And basically it's wasted space. So what we want to do is demolish that entire area of the building and start over. We would eliminate that hallway, and we would create new entries hallways up front that only go halfway back and allow people to walk in and out of the bathroom without having to touch a door, because there will be no doors. It'll be like Walmart or Costco, okay, in terms of going into the bathroom. All of the fixtures will be touch-free. Eliminating that hallway in the back side allows us to raise the windows up and bring natural light into the bathrooms, which we haven't been able to do, and will give us hinged windows at the top, which could possibly bring in fresh air to the bathrooms, which would be a big improvement. So the main emphasis here is to complete a program we've already started in the dining room, which is to try to have a completely touch-free experience for obvious reasons because of the pandemic. Something we accomplished already in the dining room was to replace the salad bar, which is now totally touch-free, and a server stands behind you, serves up what you want, and so forth. On the outside of the bathroom wall there, you see a new, what we call the beverage wall is what it is now. So we, instead of beverage service there, on the one side you have two hand washing sinks. So the diners, as they're standing in line to go get their meal, they can wash their hands if they wish, and they have two sinks, one for handicapped and one for not. And then the counter is whatever we put on the counter is sort of, if you're having a potluck there, or you have other stuff to put on the counter, there's a kitchen sink there and so forth. I think you've all seen that. And those of you that have seen that know that it's really quite ugly. It's got really old shelving and it's quite deteriorated. And we know that there's some rot under the floor between on that wall especially. So it's going to take there's work that has to be done in any case, which is pretty substantial. So we estimate that this project will cost about $60,000. That's the estimate the engineering firm gave us. So my first question to you, do you mind if we improve the building in this manner? You all support that?
I don't have any problem with it. No.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's good.
That's good. All right. There may be some minor changes. These are initial drawings. The second question is, we're hoping that this project will qualify for some funding from the American Rescue Plan funds that you have. And you have an open application for that now. And we're hoping that you'll consider that eligible. I think this is definitely a COVID-related project. It's aimed at making everything touch-free. And so there was a minor point I needed to talk with you about that, though. In the application, it requires that we have acquired the permits for this work as part of the application process. And traditionally, we don't actually apply for permits directly. We contract, and part of the contract with the contractors is they acquire the permits. So I'm asking you, and I talked with Vicki, I think, and someone else that's involved in this, and she suggested I discuss this with you. If you could waive what appears to be a requirement to get the permits in advance, knowing we have a professional engineering firm, we got good drawings here, we will get permits, and we'll adhere to all the permitting requirements, but it's just not practical for us at this point to get a permit. That would be included in the contracting when we get there. So want to make sure when we apply for those funds, if you agree that we're eligible for that, that particular requirement be waived until contracts are over.
All right.
You have a problem with that?
What's the board's what direction does the board want to go on that request?
I think that you'll allow it to go through the application process for the ARP board discussion. I have no problem having that discussion at that time. But as far as the permit requirement to make it to that level, I'm fine with the board seeing it without those permits being in place.
Okay. What's your thoughts, Commissioner?
I'm not sure that we should require a permit for any application. Because that means people are gonna be 100%, they're gonna be vested, they're gonna invest money with the county.
Right.
And they may or may not buy, they may or may not continue on, it depends on what happens with their funding request.
It's an unusual request.
So, I apologize for not catching that and seeing it in there because I don't agree with that. I don't think it should be on that application.
So it sounds like there's
No.
consensus from the board that you can go ahead and make the application without, regardless of permitting, and we'll sort of cross that bridge when
Right.
it comes.
And that segues us to one of the other requests. The last time we did a major project like this, which was the roof and the HVAC system, we applied for a waiver of the permit fees, which you all agreed to. And I would like to apply for that again and wonder if I'll have your support for that.
I'd say you just make the application downstairs through the process, and then when it comes to the board, we can figure it out.
Okay.
But I don't wanna circumvent the process.
Okay, I understand. And then lastly, we have quite a collection of projects to do, capital projects over there. And we've set a good deal of money aside for that this year, but we are gonna fall short. When we did the last capital improvement on the building, you were kind enough to support us in some way. On the roof and HVAC system, I think with the value of the permits included, you supported that project with about $15,000. And so I would ask that you would consider participating in this project, if you would. Either, and you could do that through the American Rescue Plan, would be one way to do that, or with other funds if you would consider doing that. I still have to raise about $158,000 this year in capital funds for the various projects we've outlined. And so if you could consider a third to a half of this project, I would be appreciative. I would be appreciative of anything you give, of course.
My thought would be, to your point about not circumventing the process, apply through the American Rescue Plan,
Right.
and let's see what happens
See what's
with
left
the
and-
committee, and then we'll go from there.
Yeah.
I concur.
That's how I feel too.
So there you go.
And then I wanted to clarify with you about that process. We, like I said, have a lot of projects. Vicki, I think it made it clear to me, better be very COVID related or it's not gonna be eligible. And so this is clearly, I think clearly related. And then we have needing some operating support for loss of revenue due to the COVID or extra expenses, and so we might be applying for a smaller amount of money there. We expect we'll fall about $55,000 short this year because of the pandemic, but we're also getting relief funds elsewhere too. We were very fortunate with relief funds last year. We're on solid financial ground, I can tell you that right now, but it's critical that we maintain a reserve since we run a vital nutritional program for the community. And so for the first time, I think we have the reserves that we're comfortable with for that, but we don't want to have to draw them down for our capital needs. So,
Okay.
any
All right.
questions?
Anything from the board?
You got our
I have
newspaper there.
Thank you.
The menu, by the
Good
way, is
report.
on
Thank
page
you.
15. If you want to come to lunch, you'll know what we're serving.
Okay. Thanks,
All
Mark. Good
right.
to see you. Before we begin our dog hearing procedure, I do need to check in with the board on whether meeting minutes from our August 4th meeting are approved.
They're fine.
Good with everyone? Okay. All right then,
Thank you.
so,
Have a good day.
thanks, Mark, you as well. Okay, so I will open our dog hearing procedure. For the record, it is August 11th, 2021. The time now is 10:15. We have all three commissioners in the room, Commissioner Boyd, Commissioner Morris, and Commissioner DeGroot. We just have one procedure to go through, and we will start with a report from Animal Control. As Deputy Justman comes up, go ahead and have a seat. Do any board members have anything that they would consider a conflict of interest, ex parte contact, or any reason to abstain from this proceeding?
I have
Do not believe so.
All right, fantastic. Deputy Justman,
Thank you.
why don't you walk us through your report?
Yes. So I responded on July 30th to 3046 Boardman. It was regarding chickens that were killed in a coop. When I got there, they did have an area of their yard cordoned off just for the chickens in a coop fashion. They had fabric up and then secondary to that, they had their perimeter fencing. After looking around, I did locate a area at the very back of the property where it looked like the dogs had dug under the chain link fence. And they were able to get through the fabric fencing into the main part of the chicken coop. On that day, they killed 4 chickens and injured one other that wasn't expected to make it. It had pretty gross injuries to its back. When I was talking to the owner of the chickens, she did report that this had happened before with the same 2 dogs. She did report it to animal control. We did go out and investigate it on that day, which was June 24th, a little over a month before that, where 4 chickens were killed also. At that time, we were not able to locate where the dogs were to move forward with the livestock hearing. On the 30th, I talked with the neighbor that is directly behind 3046 Boardman and gave him a description of the dogs, and he was able to direct me to his neighbor. I did observe the dogs in a kennel. The descriptions matched. I talked with the owner of the dogs, Carla Delaney. She did indicate on the 29th, the day before when the attack happened, the dogs went by her when she was opening her camper door and were unaccounted for about 2 hours. So the total chickens that are deceased or expected to be deceased was the 4 from the first attack, 4 that were killed the second attack, and then the injured one that was not expected to make it, so 9 total. As far as the dogs being impounded, total fees for animal control is $560. The civil penalties would be $1,500 per dog for killing livestock, and then restitution requested was $225 for the 9 chickens valued at $25 a piece, and the total would be $1,785.
So quick point of clarification on our
Yes.
form. You mentioned that there had been a previous incident, but it's indicating that it was without previous history. Is that because you didn't?
Right,
You
it,
weren't
it
able
never made it to the livestock.
Got it.
What was the reason for that?
We couldn't locate the dogs. The other officer investigating it drove the neighborhoods, didn't locate them. We just didn't have owner information to pursue the livestock hearing.
My understanding correctly that is actually being included in this hearing
Correct.
now. Okay.
Just
So
for the
this is
evaluation. of
2
rest-
incidences,
Just the
1
evaluation
hearing.
of restitution.
Copy that.
Any other questions for Deputy Justice?
And there is pictures if you want me to go through those real quick as
sure.
well.
That would be great.
So the first pictures are just the inside of the coop. You can see that they've boarded up the bottoms where anything could get under the fence. There is chicken wire to the top of the wood fencing. On the second page, the middle picture is the chain link fence at the back of the property. It's a little hard to see, but in this section, there's a small area that's dug out where clearly they've gone under. And then the other pictures are more interior pictures of the coop. There's chickens laying around, feathers laying around from the incident itself. And then the injuries on the one where its back had been hit. And then the very dark picture, on the 29th when the incident occurred, it was dark, she did take a picture. There is a dog in this picture that is mostly white with black spots, which I was able to match to the dogs that I located behind the property. It does show up better on a screen than on a picture.
Any questions from the board, comments or thoughts?
I don't have any others.
Stay with us, but we'll call up, say your last name.
Rojas.
Rojas, would you like to come up and share with the board? You're the complainant. Yes, why don't you come on up and identify yourself for the record, and if you have any testimony you'd like to give, and Sandy will start.
Good morning. Good morning. Do you solemnly swear or affirm the information you give today to be the best of your knowledge?
Anything you'd like to share?
Yes, I just wanna say, the turtle was AM turtle because the rooster survived. He's without tail, big spot with feathers, but he survived. So it's AM turtle. So I didn't take a picture yesterday because I was very hairy with my kids. So today I forgot because I was hairy, making breakfast and everything, you know. And I just, the letter I got say probably the dogs are gonna go to death. So I don't wanna die because I don't want to feel good with that. Because I feel like, because I had 2 chihuahuas and I don't like to go to death. So I don't wanna your dogs go to death. No, I just wanna they fence it very well, their house keep very well. I don't just wanna I think if it was in the afternoon, my kids always is in the backyard playing in the pool and the trampoline. Just think if they came in the afternoon, my kids was there, they can bite them, and I don't wanna they does hurt somebody else or other animals. So I just wanna they keep their dogs very safe and fence the house. That's what I wanna say.
Any questions for the complainant or comments or thoughts?
Do not have any, no.
All right, your turn next. I'm assuming Carla, Delaney, come on up. Similarly, we'll have you be sworn in by our administrator.
Please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you give today shall be true to the best of your knowledge?
And you can go ahead and sit if you prefer stand. Whichever. And is there anything you'd like to share with the board?
I apologize for what had happened. I really feel bad about it.
How's your fencing situation? Are you able to get a better fence?
Yeah, we can. What happened was, is my boyfriend came home from fire, and it was 2 o'clock in the morning when we got home, and he let the dogs fight him. So it wasn't with the fence or anything, but we can do whatever we gotta do to get the dogs back.
Any questions for the doggo?
I have none, no.
Thank you for sharing. All right, so any of our guests that anyone wishes to hear from again or ask additional questions of?
This is pretty straightforward for me.
So deputy, the boarding fees are normally $15 per animal per day, is that,
Correct.
and this is 30, so this is for both of them?
Correct, so
Okay.
Let me do this piece. If we don't have additional questions of our guests, I'll formally close the hearing and we can move into the discussion and deliberation on fees and other questions. And we have counsel here too if we need them.
I think if I recall right now, I have the matrix in front of me, I think that it's pretty specific on how this is laid out for us. So I believe just the recommendation of animal control is something that I would support. And we have to say this every time. So the statute's very, very clear on what we're to do. And a lot of times we just have our hands tied. So, I mean, we'll make a decision today. I think it's important that you understand, ma'am, that should this happen again, we get our hands tied, that we have to put your animals down. We won't get a choice. The statute's very, very clear, so I always try to make sure people understand that. So make sure you get your dogs in and don't let them get out again, because we don't want to do that. That's not something that we enjoy, at least speaking for myself, but I think the rest of the board agrees with that.
The other thing under statute is it says for killing, it says the county shall impose a civil penalty of not less than $500 and not more than $1,000. So animal control officers are suggesting the bottom end of the ordinance, so it's, I think they're trying to be lenient too.
So I would make a motion that we impose the fees, fines, and restitution in line with the recommendation of animal control of a total of $1,785 and an affidavit signed by the dog owner stating that they will confine the dogs in a manner so they cannot harm livestock or people in the future.
I'll second that. So there is an active motion now for essentially imposing the fees as recommended by our animal control officer. Any other discussion?
I think the complaint was talking 8 chickens now instead of 9.
You are
So I
correct.
think we should amend that by $25.
You are correct, so I would amend my motion to be $1,760. The restitution to the victim being reduced to $200.
And I'll second the amendment. So we have an amended motion to bring the grand total to $1,760. Any other discussion before we call the question?
I don't have it, but that was a good catch.
Is the math right, minus the 25?
1760.
Will be what, after the 25?
So just procedurally wise, I feel like we always need reminders. So you will receive, if the board votes affirmative, you will receive a copy of the order, and you will work with animal control on payment. They do offer the potential for a payment plan if the payment is not feasible, one. And then you will receive restitution through the county, is how that works. Remind me, what office does she go to? Does she go to our office or?
She doesn't need to go anywhere, we'll mail her a check.
Okay.
It goes through the finance cycle, I believe they cut checks on Fridays, so depending on, it probably won't be cut till next Friday.
All right, hearing no other discussion, I will call the question. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Chair votes aye, motion passes. Thank you, nice work.
Thank you all, have a better day.
Thank you.
Yeah, it'd be great. Keep it on file.
All right,
Awesome, thank you.
we have one other item on our agenda.
I'm not going anywhere.
Thought we were leaving.
So,
And just note, I believe that the streaming is not working.
Are we recording?
We are recording, yeah.
And I believe it's coming through audio, but when Dale left, he did not understand why, but the video was not.
we have one other item, listed under BOCC. This was from Haley on parking spots. Let's see, a contractor is working on the DHS building. They'd like to block off 10 parking spaces for a couple of days on the southeast corner of the parking lot across from the library.
Yeah, so it's the one that the
Oh.
courthouse uses,
Mhm.
back behind, across the street on Klamath.
And they're just asking if that's okay.
Those aren't assigned parking spaces, those are there for the public, is that correct?
Yes, they are.
And for the courthouse staff and some library staff, but they're
Yeah.
not assigned directly to anybody. So
And jurors, in
yeah.
case there was, we had a big jury trial or something.
I'm
Haley
okay
did
with that.
Haley did contact the courts just to see if there would be an issue, and they replied that they didn't have an issue.
Okay. Everyone okay?
I'm totally fine with that.
Fine with it. Consensus was.
Anything else for the good of the order before we adjourn?
I do not have anything today.
Commissioner Boyle?
Nope.
All right, we'll be adjourned at 10:30.
Thank you.